As a result, you and we are poorer, and the image of the Creator in us is twisted, blurred, and we are not what we are meant by God to be. This is why the work of reparations and right relationship building is essential. It is part of our healing journey, healing for settler peoples as well as Indigenous peoples. If I don't understand my own need for healing from my bondage to colonial and white supremacist attitudes, then even my best efforts at reconciliation will likely perpetuate and entrench colonial ways, not dismantle them. I must come to terms with the ways in which the image of the Creator has become twisted and blurred in me. How my participation in racist and colonial structures distorts my own humanity, as well as that of my Indigenous relatives. Once I see this truth clearly and feel its impact on my relationship with God, myself, and my neighbors, then I will be fully invested in the transformation that needs to happen in me, in our church, and in society. Then I won't run from the hard and humbling work of building right relations, because I'll know that this is the medicine I need to heal, to become whole. This is about my liberation and your liberation, the liberation of each and every one of us, which is all bound up together. May we have the courage and the humility to embrace our healing journey, that together we may be liberated to become what we are meant by God to be.
Jordan Cantwell was the moderator until 2018. I believe Richard Bott followed her there. Richard Bott, our current moderator, followed her. She's talking about being what we are meant to be by God. And today on Communion Sunday, we take that image and work with all the images we received in the Beguiled for Beauty series. The mystic information given to us, the mystic challenge given to us from Julian of Norwich, from Hildegard von Bingen. Ancient voices from difficult times speaking to us in our own difficult time. And so on this Communion Sunday, I invite you to have a less active approach to communion. We'll make good use of the fact that we're under different circumstances. We've talked about the impact of realizing the sacred beauty, the sacred worth of every part of creation. We've talked about feeling those wow moments which deeply penetrate into our spirits. These all add up to offering us the opportunity to change. So today in this preparation for communion, I want us to take our best mystic self in training and to think of all the things, all the gifts, all the prayers, all the intentions, all the hopes, all the compassion that was given to the disciples on that first, as David read, that first experience as recorded in the book that St. Paul wrote to the church in Corinth. So if we think about that as deeply as we can, who would you offer those resources to? Through the grace of time, we heard from Julian of Norwich. Who would you hope to remember at this invisible mystic communion? The world seems to be on the edge right now. Probably each one of us would have a list from the news of people we would wish to offer the compassion of the broken one. This week, Kabul and Afghanistan are once again filling our screens and our hearts. And we think of those people and the women in peril. And then we would want to offer as well some compassion, some breaking open of compassion for the families of the service personnel who served there for 20 years, wondering what was it all about? How could they have suffered the loss of their son or daughter? And now this. We don't have to provide or can't provide an answer, but we can break open our hearts of compassion. As we break open the bread of our own hearts, stories fall out of our own willingness to travel beside them, to walk with them. We think of others fighting in Haiti to restore, in the midst of the natural disasters, desperate to restore a sense of order, of response, fighting against so many different things lined up against them. We would offer them that sweet cup of refreshment as they go back one more shift. Not that we can solve it, but that we would say, I am with you. Like Julian said to us, I remember you. Here, closer to home, the firefighters, the people fighting to keep their homes, those who have lost them. Mother Earth grieving the loss of hundreds of acres, hectares of forest. We would break open our hearts and let tumble out our own response of caring, as fresh and as refreshing as dew on a spiritual level. We haven't forgotten you. And so we would imagine that table. We talked about that huge, immense feast, that mystical feast, where gluten and gluten-free don't matter, where alcoholic or grape juice do not matter. That place where it is deeper than all those images or realities, because it's at that spiritual place of being touched by the sacred Spirit. There are, of course, other ways of doing communion. Last year up at the camp, we used slices of apple. We talked about the star in the middle of each slice, reminding us of Bethlehem and the gift of Christ. I have witnessed people doing a flower communion. We could probably have 100 different ways people have sought to illustrate that, to live out that. And so I would ask you, in the meditation of this Communion Sunday, who would the Sacred Spirit send to you? Who would you lovingly put your hand out to receive from? It might be one of the disciples whose story has touched your heart, or one of the mystics through time. It might be one of those names inscribed on our own memorial plaques right here at First Met, that you would say, as I might say, Murdoch McKinnon, come stand by me now. I need your confidence. I need your faith. Who would you ask the Sacred Spirit to send to you? Who do you know already is there with you, partaking with you in this most holy of sacraments, this gift of belonging? And so, on the edge as we are, we look around and see we are not alone on this edge. That may be the only comfort we can offer each other this week. We have not forgotten you, and you have not forgotten us. Through our faith, we know that the veil between this life and the next is not a strong one when it comes to providing spiritual nurture. And we are grateful for those who now worship in a greater light and on a distant shore, who reach out to us and say, I am with you. Some people call them angels. Some people call them spirits. The words really don't matter. What matters is that acknowledgement deep in our hearts that God is with us in life, in death, in life beyond death. Thanks be to God. Amen.